A flight attendant from American Airlines pleaded guilty to charges he secretly recorded an underage girl in an airplane bathroom. Police say he had recordings of other girls in similar situations. Fox 4's Stephen Dial is in with more on a plea agreement reached today. Stephen.
Former American Airlines flight attendant Estes Thompson III pled guilty to sexual exploitation of children and possession of child porn. He's been under investigation for incidents involving 5 child victims. One was from a Texas flight. I spoke to the lawyer representing the Texas girl who police say was recorded while in a bathroom on the plane. The girl was heading to Disney World. These recordings happened over the span of several months back in 2023. Investigators say he recorded at 7, 9, 11, and 2 14-year-olds. The DOJ said that Thompson guided girls to the first-class bathroom, but before they entered, he said he needed to wash his hands. That's when prosecutors say that he hid his iPhone behind a sticker reading "seat broken." One of the victims took a picture of the toilet and raised concerns about the issue. I spoke to the lawyer for 2 of the victims.
I commend the U.S. Attorney's Office for bringing this felon to justice, and I think we can all sleep a bit safer knowing he's hopefully going to remain behind bars for a long time. And to the American people, be safe out there when you fly. Obviously, they were pleased that he has taken some measure of responsibility for what happened, but at the same time, this can't undo the past. It can't make up for the awful experience that they've been to while flying on American Airlines.
The guilty plea is for the criminal side of the case. Llewellyn, that lawyer that you just heard from, told me that his North Carolina client has settled with American Airlines in a civil lawsuit as it pertains to the Texas client. Jury selection for the lawsuit against American in civil court is this summer.
All right, Stephen Dial in the newsroom. Stephen, thank you.
A wily man was arrested in Louisiana, charged with the death of a fraternity pledge during a hazing ritual. Now, according to Baton Rouge police, Caleb McCrae was one of 3 men who, while wearing boxing gloves, punched pledges in the chest multiple times. Caleb Wilson, a member of Southern University's marching band, collapsed, had a seizure, and ultimately died. More arrests are even coming. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager live tonight with an update on the investigation. Hi, Peyton.
Hi, Casey. And Caleb McCrae, we know he turned himself into Baton Rouge police last night along with his attorney. And today, Casey, we learned that he's from Wiley and graduated from Wiley ISD in 2019. And in Louisiana, hazing can be a felony. And we also learned at the press conference today from Baton Rouge police, they've identified at least 2 additional suspects. They say they're working with them and they hope to have those arrests as early as this weekend. 23-year-old Caleb McCrae of Wiley is now charged with felony criminal hazing and manslaughter. Investigators say McCrae is the first arrest connected to the death of a 20-year-old Southern University student after an off-campus fraternity hazing ritual.
Detectives have interviewed over a dozen people and executed multiple search warrants to gather as much information as possible.
Friday, Baton Rouge police provided the arrest update at a press conference. In the early morning hours of February 26th, junior engineering student and marching band member Caleb Wilson was dropped off at the emergency room by a group of men who stated he collapsed while playing basketball. The group left before officers arrived at the hospital.
Caleb Wilson died as a direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging to Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Detectives learned the basketball story was a lie. Instead, according to an arrest warrant affidavit Fox 4 obtained on Friday, Wilson and 8 other pledges arrived to a warehouse and changed into gray sweatpants. Police say they stood in a line and were each punched 4 times with boxing gloves by at least 3 individuals. One of them being fraternity member and recent Southern University graduate Caleb McCrae. The report states Wilson appeared to suffer a seizure and lose control of his bodily function. Police add Wilson's clothing was changed prior to his arrival at the hospital, where he later died. A loss that has deeply hurt the Southern University campus, especially the school's famous marching band, the Human Jukebox.
Wilson played the trumpet. This week, the university's band held a vigil honoring him, hoping to lift up Wilson's family with love and support.
McCrae's attorney sent Fox 4 a statement this afternoon saying he maintains his client's innocence and he's still reviewing all of the evidence. Meanwhile, Southern University also put out a statement today saying that it's pausing membership intake for all campus organizations while multiple investigations move forward.
Rowlett police are investigating a dog napping. 2 young women, maybe late teenagers, caught on camera taking a pit bull away from a McDonald's. Fox 4's Sean Rabb joins us with the story. Sean.
Clarice, this story makes you just want to shake your head and go, why, right? I mean, these young girls took this man's dog after promising him they'd watch Rowlett the dog while he washed his hands in the restroom.
I think that pets are more than just pets. They're part of the family.
But on February 18th, a little after 10 in the morning, this older gentleman in the jacket had part of his family taken. He places his dog Rowlett near the entrance door to this McDonald's in Rowlett, then turns to go to the restroom to wash his hands.
But before he does, he sees 2 females sitting nearby, and he talks to the females and asks them if they can keep an eye on his dog while he goes inside the restroom.
Rowlett sits and waits, and then this happens.
The 2 females are looking at the dog, talking amongst each other. Then they proceed to standing up, picking their belongings, and guiding Rowlett out the door.
Through the glass door, you see one of the 2 push or pull Rowlett towards the parking lot. The dog returns to the door looking for his owner.
I'm sure he's thinking, hey, my owner's in here, where am I going? And so one of the suspects picks up Rowlett and takes him away. And you can see that the victim comes out and he's shocked to see that Rowlett's not there.
Rowlett Police Corporal Jacqueline Vergara says this is not like someone finding a lost dog and claiming it.
This is something we don't do. It's someone's pet, and plus it's that trust that the victim gave to these suspects to keep an eye on his dog while he goes inside the restroom and then comes out to see that his dog is gone.
Rowlett Police hoping you can help them find Rowlett by finding these 2.
2 perhaps Hispanic females. So we're asking the public that if they have any information on this incident or can help us identify these 2 suspects.
Contact the lead detective on this case, Detective Fleck.
We need to find Rowlett. Help us find Rowlett is what we're asking the public to do.
Now, stealing a dog in Texas is a misdemeanor, considered a kind of low-level crime, but ask any dog owner, and the value of that dog to them is simply priceless. Rowlett Police hoping you will help them find Rowlett and bring this man's best friend back home to him.
Yeah, Sean, absolutely. And seeing Rowlett just kind of turn around and look through that door like, where's my dad? Where am I going? Yeah. We need to work
It's so sad, right?
Yeah, get Rowlett home, get him home safely. Sean, thank you.
Plano police say an alert detective in a chance encounter helped unravel a murder-for-hire plot. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. Police say it began as an investigation into a string of package thefts and vehicle break-ins. Weeks into the investigation, an off-duty detective ran into the suspect, 38-year-old Michael McLeod. Police say McLeod didn't know he was talking with a detective, but that conversation would go on to trigger a federal murder-for-hire investigation. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager has all the details tonight. Peyton.
Hi, Steve. This case has been going on for more than a year now. It's now public because Michael McLeod pleaded guilty to a federal charge of murder for hire. Meanwhile, Plano police highlighting one of their own detectives saying this detective potentially saved 2 lives in this case. What started as an investigation into a package thief ended in a foiled murder for hire plot. A twist even Plano police say they didn't expect.
One of those weird serendipitous times where right place, right time.
Back in December 2023, this man, later identified as 38-year-old Michael McLeod of Plano, was linked to a few stolen packages and 7 vehicle burglaries. A fingerprint from one of the door handles matched McLeod. Detective McIntyre, a 24-year veteran with Plano Police, was assigned to the case. But even the most experienced officers sometimes have a strike of luck. Detective McIntyre learned McLeod frequented a local restaurant.
Sure enough, while enjoying a meal off duty at the restaurant, the detective watched McLeod walk in.
He described him as being boisterous and belligerent to the standpoint that he walked up and he's just like, hey, like, are you okay? What's going on? Based on his demeanor. And the guy started talking about how his ex-girlfriend and he needed a silencer in order to take care of her and her new boyfriend.
A firearm silencer, a device that reduces the sound of a gunshot. Detective McIntyre told McLeod he could help without disclosing he was an officer, and they exchanged contact information. That's when an undercover agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives took over.
He made it sound like he wanted a silencer for himself, but then obviously something changed in his interactions with the ATF agent, and it turned from himself to hiring someone to do the murders for him.
McLeod was later arrested. More than a year later, McLeod pleaded guilty to the federal charge of murder for hire.
No matter how small something may seem in an incident, it can lead to big things.
And back in January, Detective McIntyre was honored with a service award for his work on this case. Meanwhile, for McLeod, his sentencing will come at a later date. He faces 15 years to life in federal prison.
Irving police have no leads in the murder of a man gunned down in his home. Detectives tell Sean Rabb they can find nothing in the victim's life that could have brought this to his front door. The 37-year-old father who was killed is the son of Dallas County Constable Deanna Hammond. She is with Sean in this week's Trackdown.
A different kind of track down. This week I want to introduce you to Constable Deanna Hammond, Precinct 2 Constable, 8 cities in the eastern part of our county. But her son was murdered in Irving last week. Tell us your son's name.
His name is Torrance Devereaux.
Tell me about your son.
Oh my God. So my son was, this wasn't his path. He was, oh my God, honor student in high school. He played football in high school. He had scholarships. He mentored young boys, and he tutored his teammates. He coached Little League football with his son and took him to a championship twice last year.
You've seen the video. Irving police released it last week.
Well, about 5 o'clock on Sunday morning, February the 23rd, there was a report of shots fired, and we learned from a video that some young kids, looked like they were about high school age, came around and shot through his door while he was in his home.
Now, there's also a vehicle. It's either a Honda or an Acura sedan. Look at the images. Look at the images of the car. Look at the images of these 3 boys. Look at the images. So no one has talked to the police yet. You need somebody to do what, Constable?
So I need somebody that, if they know these young boys, the video is surfacing everywhere. And if they know them, say something. Call Irving Police Department.
Who are they? Somebody knows. Get at Irving Police. The detective is D. Gorski, putting his email and his number on the screen. Get at Detective Gorski, Irving Police. This your oldest?
It's my oldest.
How have you dealt with this week?
Oh, this week has been tough. Well, last week was tough. I pretty much was in shutdown mode. I am a woman of faith, but I still don't understand. I don't understand why they took my baby.
If you know what happened, say something. Get at Detective Gorski. Help find the trio who killed Torrance Devereaux, the son of Constable Deanna Hammond.
The man who was under the influence when he struck an SUV, killing a teenager, officially received his sentence as part of a plea deal. He faced the family of the girl he killed. They believe he should have spent more time, far more time, in prison. Fox 4's David Centendry has the story.
Brooklyn was more than just a little sister. She was my best friend, my safe place, my heart, and now she's my greatest loss.
Aubrey Moran face-to-face with Jeremy Spencer, the man who was intoxicated when he caused the crash which killed her 13-year-old sister, Brooklyn Moran, in 2022. Aubrey says home will never be the same.
I couldn't bring myself to go home. How could I? Brooklyn's room was just across the hall from mine, and the thought of walking past it, knowing she would never be in there again, was unbearable.
Spencer crossed a center line on Castle Drive in Garland. His truck crashed head-on into Moran's family's SUV. Garland Police Department says drug use contributed to the crash. Spencer tested positive for at least cocaine and methamphetamine. According to an arrest warrant, Spencer admitted to being an alcoholic, but told police on scene he only had half a beer that day. Brooklyn's friend, who was seriously injured in the crash, forgives Spencer.
Forgiveness is a lot easier than forgetting. I will never be able to forget September 9, 2022.
Brooklyn's mother, Brittany, was driving. The crash put her in a coma for 4 days.
One of the hardest moments of my life, however, was when my mother finally became coherent enough to understand what had happened. Telling her that Brooklyn was gone felt like ripping the last pieces of my heart apart.
You took out a very good gem in this world. She was one of the really, really good ones.
Medics took Brittany to her daughter's funeral.
I'll never be able to talk to her. I didn't even get a proper goodbye to her.
Spencer is sentenced to 17 years in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 5 years.
He has been given a slap on the hand, and we've been given a life sentence.
Moran's family expressed disappointment in the plea deal.
The DA did this without our permission.
The Dallas County District Attorney's Office says there are risks of going to trial, as the range of punishment for intoxication manslaughter is a minimum of 2 years in prison to a maximum of 20 years. A jury could have sentenced him to significantly less than the 17 years he has received.
How to be a better person.
The judge asked Spencer, who did not have a license at the time of the crash because of a previous DWI conviction, to take time in prison to think of the consequences of his actions. Brooklyn's father echoed that request.
I don't want Brooklyn to die in vain. He needs to change his life, and I'm really serious about that. I want him to become a new person.
Brooklyn's family says she was an honor roll student, accomplished soccer player, and steadfast in her faith. They sent Fox 4 video of her honor walk before her organs were donated.
She did save at least 6 people's lives by donating her organs. One of them happened to be a baby.
Reporting, David Centendry, Fox 4 News.
One of the surviving Texas 7 criminals is awaiting a new trial. Randy Halpern was one of 7 prison escapees involved in the murder of an Irving police officer in 2000. Today in court, the Dallas County District Attorney announced there may be a conflict of interest with one of Halpern's new attorneys. Fox 4 Stephen Dial in the newsroom with the story. Stephen.
Clarice, the news from the Dallas County District Attorney John Creuzot about a possible conflict was not expected by anyone in the courtroom today. John Creuzot says that he's still weighing on the option of the death penalty.
2 months after the state's highest criminal court granted a new trial for Randy Halpern, the notorious Texas 7 defendant appeared in a Dallas County courtroom. Halpern and 6 other inmates escaped from a South Texas prison in 2000. And on Christmas Eve that year, they killed Irving police officer Aubrey Hawkins during a robbery at a sporting goods store. Halpern received a death sentence, but the conviction was overturned after it was determined the trial judge targeted Halpern with anti-Semitic slurs. Halpern is Jewish.
But I want to bring it to your attention because it's of utmost importance that you know this. And I don't know if you know it or if anybody else knows it.
In Friday's hearing to see when a new trial date would be set, Dallas County District Attorney John Creuzot told the new judge there may be a conflict with one of Halpern's appointed attorneys.
Mr. Harris was the first assistant and went to his co-defendant's execution. And now he's been appointed to represent Mr. Halpern.
Creuzot is referring to attorney Heath Harris. Back in 2012, Harris worked for the then District Attorney Craig Watkins, and in his role with the county, attended the execution of another Texas 7 member, George Rivas. We spoke to Creuzot after the hearing about his concern.
My personal opinion, to protect the integrity of the case, as a former state district judge, I think there should be extreme caution as to whether he represents Mr. Halpern. and perhaps the decision would be not to.
Harris was not in court Friday due to a family issue. Halpern's other lawyer, Philip Hayes, says that the claims are something that should be looked into.
I mean, if everything that Judge Creuzot mentioned today is accurate, yeah, that's something that we might be concerned with. I know Mr. Harris is a fair lawyer and he's been on both sides, but that's always a concern in a case like this.
In reference to the case itself, Creuzot told the judge his office has not decided if this should be a death penalty case. Hawkins was shot 11 times, but Hayes says evidence shows that his client was not one of the shooters.
Of course, this had been 25 years ago, but there was testimony in one of the trials that the weapon that he had was fully loaded at the end of the altercation, and I believe that to be true. I don't believe, based on his involvement in this offense, and certainly based on his behavior in the last 25 years, that the death penalty would be an appropriate sentence.
Creuzot told the judge that there's at least 100 boxes of paperwork evidence that needs to be sorted through before handing it over to the defense. He said it could take up to 2 months to do that.
Well, Dallas police are sharing new surveillance video with Fox 4 in the hopes of finding the masked men who ambushed and murdered an elderly disabled woman. The video shows the group of men as they pile out of a car, then get right back in with their getaway driver. It has been 6 weeks now since Alice Fisher was found dead in her home, and police, like family, are bewildered as to why she was gunned down in the first place. Fox 4's David Centenary live with that brand new information tonight from Dallas police. Hi, David.
Hey, Casey. Yeah, family of Alice Fisher says she had just returned home from a hospital stay, and she was sitting in her reclining chair when those masked men just barged into her apartment and started spraying gunfire. There were bullets everywhere. Dallas police have now released some video to us in hopes of getting new leads.
You entered the wrong home. It wasn't your enemies.
Video shows a group of 3 masked and armed shooters getting out of a dark gray Ford Escape. The group runs back to the SUV after Dallas Police Department says they broke into a disabled woman's apartment and unleashed gunfire.
It wasn't intended for her, and that's all we keep hearing throughout that West Dallas neighborhood, that it wasn't for her, it was the wrong door. And that's what we truly believe.
Alice Fisher's family says word on the street is the gunman mistakenly entered the 57-year-old's apartment, thinking it was someone else's. The shooting happened on Wednesday, January 22nd, just after 9 p.m. in West Dallas at the King Bridge Crossing Apartments, Dallas Housing Authority property. And she was just sitting in her recliner, right?
Sitting in her recliner, just released from the hospital earlier that day.
Fox 4 observed dozens of evidence markers related to gunshots.
57 years old, disabled, no enemies, not on drugs, don't owe anyone money or anything like that. The guys didn't take anything when they went in there. It was just to kick the door down. They straight up shot and killed her, and they ran out.
Do you have a motive yet?
At this time, we're exploring all options.
Detective Joshua Conklin releasing surveillance video to Fox 4, hoping someone identifies the SUV and/or suspects.
They're all messed up. It's dark. It's kind of hard to tell exactly. I mean, they do look somewhat slim-framed. There's still a driver that stays in the car.
The Ford Escape is from 2017 to 2019. The radio antenna on the back of the Escape is missing.
Like I said, we've talked to multiple people, but we don't have like one person of interest at this point in time that we're releasing.
Asked about the shooting possibly being a mistaken location.
You know, there's a lot of people that say a lot of different things. I mean, no indication, at least at this point, would indicate she had any connection with crime or anything like that. Like I said, being elderly, disabled.
We have so many, questions.
Coquise Fisher says her aunt, who lived alone, was harmless and loved her family.
Just to know that your loved one was targeted for no reason.
Her family's hope is for these brazen shooters to be held accountable.
We're scared too because, no one has been caught and we don't know the motive.
Investigators hope someone recognizes that vehicle or somehow the suspects, and then you call in that information. They want you to contact Crime Stoppers. There is reward money available for an arrest and an indictment. That phone number, 1-877-373-TIPS. But to make it easy, we've posted that phone number over on our website with this story, fox4news.com. For now,
Casey, back to you.
Competitions resumed today in downtown Dallas at the National Cheerleaders Association All-Star Championship. The event was derailed yesterday, you might recall, after a brawl between two parents in attendance got so out of hand that people thought there was an active shooter on the loose. Well, that sparked fear and mass evacuations, which caused at least 10 people to get hurt. Tonight, Dallas police are not saying whether those two rowdy adults have been identified or if their questionable behavior will result in any criminal charges. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has been covering this story since it broke. She's live now with the very latest. Hi, Amelia.
Casey, some teams packed up their things and left after Saturday's incident. Those who stayed told me they felt more than just the usual performance nerves getting back on stage inside the convention center. The National Cheerleaders Association All-Star National Championship resumed Sunday with extra police and security outside the convention center in downtown Dallas. A reminder of Saturday's scare.
I was a little nervous. I thought I was doing good, and then when we got here, it was just, okay, take a deep breath and let's do this for our kids.
Danielle Garvin and her daughter's team from Ohio were inside their team room when reports of gunshots spread through the area. Dallas police confirmed it wasn't a shooting, but rather a fight between two people that knocked down multiple poles. It was this loud noise that led to the panic and rush of people, according to police. 10 people were taken to the hospital with injuries ranging from bumps and bruises to broken bones and fractures.
We got a message later on in the evening asking if our children are okay to come back tomorrow. All of them said we're in, you know, but I did like the fact that it was put in their decision to make and not the gym.
Other teams made the decision to leave the competition after Saturday's incident. Organizers told us that all performances that were canceled on Saturday were able to be rescheduled for Sunday. Some parents hope this experience leads to changes in security for these large-scale competitions.
This isn't just Dallas. A lot of these large convention centers don't have security, no bag checks. So we're hoping, unfortunately, you know, we might have to use this as a lesson learned, but going forward, we're just hoping that they up security.
Saturday was a reminder of just how strong and united the cheer community is.
Cheer is more than bows, glitter, and fun. It's a culture. And the culture of cheer is that they're resilient and that they can withstand.
Tiana Cody and her daughter stayed inside the arena and hunkered down until they were evacuated. Cody told her daughter it was her decision if she performed on Sunday.
She didn't feel pressure, I didn't feel pressure, and it felt like a community, and I appreciate having that community.
And that community gave Sanaya Cody the support she needed to perform with her team.
It felt good to know that there was people supporting me, behind me, and to know that I had encouragement with it. I felt like I was in a safe place, a safe environment.
As you mentioned, Casey, we asked Dallas police if anyone will face charges in this case or if any arrests will be made. They responded, telling us that no arrests have been made, but they didn't answer our questions if the two people who started the fight were identified or questioned. All they said is that this investigation is ongoing. We'll be sure to stay on top of it. Casey, back to you.
All right, Fox 4's Amelia Jones. We know you will keep us posted. Amelia, thanks so much. 3 Hearst, Euless, Bedford ISD schools were evacuated and searched after a bomb threat. Parents were told to pick up students off campus. Fox 4's Stephen Dow, live in Euless with the latest. Stephen.
Euless police gave the all clear just before 3 o'clock. They said that the evacuation of the schools is standard procedure during threats like this.
My class was actually taking a test. So like after we were taking a test, we just heard the teacher. The teacher went to the bathroom, right? She came back yelling, "Oh, pack up, pack up, pack up." There's something going on. So like everybody's confused. People start trying to run out the door.
Eli Fabila, a 9th grade student at Central Junior High, described the scene as students evacuated from 3 HEB ISD schools. He didn't know what happened at the time, but says school officials responded quickly.
Like 6 to 7 to 8 buses start just coming. And then they pick us up. They come drop us off here.
All 3 schools share the same campus property. Students were bused about a mile away to a district administration building. When we arrived, we saw hundreds waiting to be reunited with their family members.
I got a text and an email to notify us that there was a situation and that the faculty and the students have been evacuated.
2 of the schools are in the same building. one an alternative school and the other is for adults to finish their high school education. Central Junior High is nearby. Euless police did not say who made the bomb threat or where it came from, but they did say this is something they planned for.
Within about an hour, buses were already on site removing students by the busload. We immediately requested bomb squad, canine assistance, and the fire department's resources.
While the reunification was an interruption in the workday, parents say they are thankful for the precaution.
Any inkling that they had that there's an issue, there's no overreacting when it comes to our children. So I feel like they did absolutely what they should have done, and I'm happy with it. And thankful that everything's okay, not just my child's okay, but everybody else is okay as well.
You're not expecting that. You know that your nephew went to school and suddenly they're calling you for news that you was not even expecting. But we thank God, almost all the kids are fine.
It's just unfortunately the times that we live in right now. Again, we don't know the source of that threat, and teachers and staff were able to go back and get their belongings at the end of the school day.